Hey there, humans! You don't see me because I'm not born yet. Yeah, I'm an official representative of life on Earth, and we're at the beginning of everything. The very beginning. Yes, we can do that here. Fun, huh? Today, I'll guide you through the life cycle of our planet. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready for some time travel. What you see before you is Earth, 4.6 billion years ago. Not the fancy blue and green ball you're used to, huh? Yeah, it's more like a giant rock covered in molten lava and constantly bombarded by comets and asteroids. You see, planets form because clouds of cosmic dust clump together, thanks to gravity, until they take a ball-like shape. Of course, there's no sign of life here yet. Nothing could survive in such an environment. That's probably why this first period of existence is called the Hadean Eon, from the Greek for Hades, or Hell. Well, quite fitting, huh? Okay, moving on. I'm itching to be born already. Not yet though, it's still too early. The hellish eon lasted for roughly 600 million years, and its main milestone was the forming of the Moon. Well, those human know-it-alls who you call scientists have several hypotheses on how it happened. Perhaps the most popular one is that some humongous astral body grazed the Earth in the late Hadean Eon, became caught in its gravity field, and has stayed in its orbit ever since. Now just think about what could have happened if that thing hit our planet. I, for one, wouldn't have appeared, and that's a tragedy, you know? Anyway, soon after the Moon started orbiting the Earth, the planet's rotation slowed down to a comfortable 24 hours per day. The impact also tilted the Earth, and it now had seasons. That's how the Archean Eon began. No life yet, but wait for it, soon. The climate became softer and more stable, and the planet began to cool down. Now, here's where it all starts. Water vapor condenses, forming the oceans and, of course, continents. Well, one supercontinent to be more precise. And finally, after millions of years, yes, you guessed it, life appears on Earth. Here I am, the first ever living being on the planet. Right now, I'm a single cell called a cyanobacterium. My buddies and I convert sunlight to energy and release oxygen in the shallow waters of the ocean. Now, you humans are clever, so you probably know that oxygen makes rust, right? As there was a lot of iron in the water, we made it rust first. Then, as the iron ran out, the oxygen we released had nowhere to go but into the atmosphere. You see, we, the simplest life form ever, made the air of our planet breathable. You even gave it a posh name, the Great Oxygenation Event. Thanks to us, the new eon began, the Proterozoic Eon. It started 2.5 billion years ago, so it's not hard to calculate that it took us, the cyanobacteria, about 1.5 billion years to fill the atmosphere with oxygen. Anyway, it was our waste product, so it was toxic for us. Unfortunately, when there was too much oxygen, we died out. But fear not, I'm not leaving you. Instead of disappearing, I evolved to become an aerobic life form. Woohoo! And now I'm going to stay for good, you'll see. Life began diversifying, and even multi-celled organisms started appearing. Alas, it wasn't for long. Oxygen in the atmosphere mixed with methane, which had been abundant there for a long time already, and created large amounts of CO2. The greenhouse effect weakened, the temperature on Earth rapidly plummeted, and the Earth fell into its first ever ice age for a whopping 300 million years. You can't imagine how cold it was. But we persevered, and when the ice melted away, life began anew and at full force. The ozone layer appeared, thanks to the richness in oxygen, and shielded the Earth from the sun's harmful radiation. My peers started timidly crawling from the water, and when they realized it was safe, life flourished on land as well. We were the pioneers, and we were victorious. Don't get me wrong though, everything I described in the last minute or so took 2 billion years. So now we're at the most beautiful period of Earth's development, and that's the Paleozoic era. It began 541 million years ago with an explosion of life called the Cambrian period. Water started swarming, first with invertebrates, then with fish, and finally with vertebrate animals, which, in their turn, hopped ashore and thought it was nice enough to settle. Me? Thanks for remembering about me because, poof, I'm the first wingless insect now. Soon you'll see my true face, but you may already know who I am. Any guesses? Leave them in the comments below. So, in the Devonian period of the Paleozoic era, about 415 million years ago, the Earth completely transformed. Lush rainforests grew all over, fish and other sea life swarmed the oceans, vertebrates roamed the land, and insects, like yours truly, crawled in their dens. A paradise! Unfortunately, it wasn't too long, well, at least on the planetary scale, before two big extinctions occurred. The first was the Carboniferous rainforest collapse in, guess what? The Carboniferous period. A major shift in global warming made life impossible for many animal and plant species, so they were buried and cooked underground. Yep, that's right. Those are the fossils you dig out and the coal deposits you use for energy. Don't be surprised now. You're actually using the remains of creatures that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. But the rainforest collapse was just a trifle compared to the greatest mass extinction that ever happened on Earth. At the end of the Paleozoic era, on the verge of the Permian and Triassic periods, an asteroid hit the planet, wiping out roughly 96% of all life. Boom! That was about 291 million years ago, and it took the Earth a long time to recover. But still, life clung on, and the Mesozoic era began with the 4% that survived the asteroid onslaught. The first 51 million years were marked by the evolution of reptiles. The Triassic period was sort of a gateway to the famous era of dinosaurs. Yes, we've finally arrived. But first, let me introduce myself properly. I hope at least some of you guessed my personality correctly in the comments to this video, otherwise I'll be offended. Please meet the mighty, hardy, tenacious cockroach. Yep, that's me, and I'm here to stay. You see, the first cockroaches appear in just about the Jurassic period and lived alongside these huge lizard things you call dinosaurs. In fact, early dinosaurs arrived in the Triassic period, but the real reign started closer to the Jurassic one and lasted for roughly 160 million years. And all this time, my creepy-crawly buddies and I were somewhere nearby, making their life a nightmare, just like today. Anyway, I should add here that dinosaurs still lived on the single supercontinent of Pangaea, but closer to their dusk, the tectonic movement began tearing it apart, forming the smaller continents that we know today. Poor dinosaur families were separated by the implacable movement of the Earth's crust. Okay, just kidding. The movement was super slow, so no families were actually separated. If anything, they could easily jump from one continent to another in the early stages. Well, time passed, and the Cenozoic era came, and with it came the ultimate demise of the huge reptiles. A giant asteroid hit the Earth once again. Hey, what's up with those asteroids? And 66 million years ago, the dinosaurs went extinct because of the rapid climate change. A moment of silence for the poor creatures, please. You should have seen how happy the early mammals were about that, though. Dinosaurs had dominated the land, so mammals had to stay low. But now that the threat of being chomped by those giant sharp teeth was gone, they flourished. And guess who was among those mammals? No, not me. I'm an insect, remember? I'll give you a hint. They only emerged about 3.9 million years ago and are still very, very prominent on our planet. Yeah, that was you, the first humans. Well, not really humans back then, but hominids, primates that walked on 2 feet and tried to use their environment to create tools. The epoch of the Pliocene marked your ancestors' arrival to the Earth, and on they went to evolve all through Pleistocene and finally Holocene, which started about 10,000 years ago. That was when your kind began clumping into communities, and I was their perpetual friendly neighbor. But that's a whole nother story. So, you there, did I miss something, you think? What other important events that shaped our planet would you like to add to my story? What? When did the Flintstones appear? About 1960. Anyway, let me know down in the comments. If you learned something new today, then give this video a like and share it with a friend. But hey, don't go anywhere just yet. We have over 2,000 cool videos for you to check out. All you have to do is pick the left or right video, click on it, and enjoy. Stay on the bright side of life.